Let's take a look at a card that I've always enjoyed. It's Aerodactyl-GX. Welcome back, everyone, to more from the Stabilize. I'm Mitch, and today we're going to take a look at Aerodactyl-GX. It's a card that I've always really enjoyed ever since it came out in Unified Minds. At least that's the set that I think it came out in. It's been a while now, but it definitely is a very cool card with a lot of potential. So, since Pikarom is seeing a lot of play, and there are a couple of cards that can be hindered by its ability, we figured we'd take it back out onto the ladder and see how it goes. Before we take a look at the list, though, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then please consider doing so. It only takes a second, and it's free. You can always unsubscribe if you'd like to, so if you want to join, that would be excellent. We'll show you all of our excellent deck lists, including this one right now. Well, that was a bit of an awkward introduction, but here we are with Aerodactyl-GX. The 210 HP Stage 1, it's a fossil Pokemon, which is quite frustrating, but it is definitely doable in the sense that we can get it out, and once it is in play, Primal wins as an ability is really, really cool. As long as this Pokemon is in our active, our opponent's basic Pokemon's attack costs are all one colorless more. That can be really frustrating for a lot of decks. Things like Dragapult rely on specific energy attachments, even though they are obviously a stage 1 in the VMAX, but the basic you can get away with for 2. Not a great example to start off with, but Zacian's another one that's frustrating. You can stop them from attacking straight away. Again, ADP, right? If you've got an Aerodactyl in the active, ADP needs 3 energy to be able to use its GX attack, which is super, super important. And Pikarom as well, obviously, can get their Stadium in play to counteract this ability, but we can then take knockouts with our attacks. We have Boulder Crush for 120, 1 fighting and double colorless. That's going to knock out a Pikarom in one shot, providing that there's no Big Charm or anything like that. And 120 damage is actually not that bad when you consider it. You know, it's a solid half hit on a lot of things at the moment, so it's definitely a decent basic attack. We also have Wild Dive for 1 fighting, does 50 times the amount of energy attached to our opponent's active Pokemon, and that can potentially be extra considering Primal wins as an ability. Another cool feature of this card, apart from the fact that it is weak to Grass, which isn't a very relevant attacking type at the moment, is that Aerodactyl has free retreat, so you don't need to worry too much about retreat cost. Now, this is the list that we've decided to put together. It's a very interesting one, and I'll talk you through it very quickly. I've obviously got Jirachi as our engine to try and find things. We don't need anything else realistically apart from Aerodactyls in play, but the Jirachi can help us find all of the stuff that we might require. We also have Diancie Prism in the deck to boost our attack damage by 20. Means that we're doing 140 instead of 120 with our first attack. Boulder Crush and Wild Dive is doing that extra 20 damage as well. We also have Ditto so that we can evolve our Aerodactyl if we need to. We can chuck that down onto the bench and evolve it, as well as 1 unidentified fossil, which is another way to evolve your Aerodactyls, but, you know, we're not going to worry about it too much. And we also have a Giratina with Dimension Breach to remove energy and stop opponents' Pokemon from attacking. So that can be very good to remove energy from things like Dragapult VMAX. The ability doesn't work, so we may as well use Giratina to slow them down. Now, you might be asking, okay, well, you've got a Ditto, you've got one unidentified fossil, but you've got 4 Aerodactyl. How are you going to get those into play? Well, we have Pokémon Research Lab, and we've got 4 copies of it as well. So, hopefully, we can get this into play on turn 1, and then we can end our turn by searching our deck for 2 evolved fossil Pokemon and put them onto our bench. Now, this is a strong ability. It obviously bypasses that first stage of evolution, but it does end our turn, so we really need to find it turn 1, which is why we've gone for the Jirachi and Pokémon Research Lab engine. If you notice, we actually only have 7 basic Pokemon in the list, and 4 of them, so more than 50% of our Pokemon are Jirachi. And then if we don't run into a Pokemon Research Lab in our original hand, we've got 5 more cards to try and find one to get our Aerodactyls into play. So we can definitely get ourselves going with that. And once we are in the late game, we can, instead of using that stadium, we can use Martial Arts Dojo to get ourselves even more damage again. So just in case doing the extra 20 with Diancie wasn't enough, we can do it with Martial Arts Dojo. Now, the rest of the list is about moving our Jirachis in and out of the active and attacking. We've got our Switch cards here in Scoop Up Net and Switch. So we've got 4 copies of each. We've got 4 copies of Quick Ball to move our Pokemon into play quickly. And then we've also got things like Crushing Hammer in the list to really slow our opponents down. If they're playing a deck like ADP Zacian, even if they have a Zacian with 3 energy on it, we can potentially remove 1, maybe 2 with Crushing Hammer, and they need to get that extra damage, extra energy to do their primal, to avoid primal wins, which is really, really good. We have Energy Retrieval and Energy Spinner as kind of energy search cards, as well as 2 Fiery Flints, because we are running a fire energy engine, and Welder is our supporter of choice for that. There are 4 Welder in the deck and 8 energy, so hopefully we can get those energies attached to our Aerodactyl. That will fill the double colorless attack cost and draw us some extra cards as well. We've also got Professor's Research, so it's not like we're reliant on it. We can sometimes get away with not playing Welder, which means that if we don't hit it, it's not that big of a deal. We've also got 2 copies of Boss's Orders to be able to move Pokemon from our opponent's bench into the active, which is always good to take big knockouts, especially with a GX attack like Wild Dive, where we can potentially remove an absolute ton of Pokemon from the field just by taking a knockout with their regular amount of energy. It's always a good attack. And we've also got a copy of Team Yell Grunt as well, which is obviously pretty good. We can put an energy from our opponent's Pokemon into their hand. Apart from that, the list is pretty self-explanatory. We didn't mention the 4 fighting energy here, but we definitely have them. They're definitely worth talking about, because if we don't have them, we don't have Aerodactyls. So, you know, it's one of those decks that can definitely do a lot of damage, but it's just whether or not you get yourself consistently set up. Now, I personally wasn't able to get it to work when I was practicing, but we do have a game from Sam, friend of the channel. Sam, thank you very much, Sam, for recording this one for me. Always appreciated. We'll jump onto the ladder now and take a look. I've not seen it. Hopefully it's a good one. Here we go. Here's the game. We've got ourselves playing Aerodactyl. Now, the resolution on this one is just a tiny little bit low, but that's okay. We'll be able to follow along and see how it goes. We will be going first in this one. We want to get that stadium out as quickly as possible, and we have Jirachi to start off, which is always good. Jirachi is going to help us find that stadium for us. If we can get that going, then that would be excellent. So, we are top decking here. We've got a fighting energy, that's pretty good, and we are going up against an Yveltal, which is very annoying. There is the Pokémon Research Lab, though, so we did manage to find that. We can play that one down. Unfortunately, we can't attach energy because there are no Pokemon worth attaching to yet, but we can get these Aerodactyls in play, so that is definitely worth taking a look at. We can attach a fighting energy next turn. Now, Yveltal suggests we're probably going up against an Obstagoon list, or potentially one of those kind of Sableye damage kind of decks. It's always an interesting card, but my gut feeling is that it's Obstagoon, and that could be good for us. I mean, we've got Aerodactyl, which is a stage 1. Even though it's not on top of another Pokemon, it is still going to be able to take knockouts on Obstagoon. So hopefully we can get ourselves going here, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not. There's a Galarian Zigzagoon though, so definitely a good sign for us. We should be able to get some knockouts. The frustrating part is going to be trying to get our energy attached to our Aerodactyls. We've got the fighting in hand, but we don't have Welder yet. So if we could find one off of this Jirachi, that would be excellent. We'd actually be in a perfect spot. But at the moment, we might actually just be looking at another Pokemon Research Lab turn. We'll see how it goes. No Welder here. We do have access to a Scoop Up and a Switch. We could potentially grab that Switch, although no real need to if we are going to scoop ourselves up here, which is probably the best thing to do. Scoop up the Jirachi, we can just retreat into that Jirachi with our active Aerodactyl. The Switch in hand obviously will allow us to get into the Aerodactyl if we were to find a Welder, but doesn't happen. So we're in a position now where it might be worth grabbing either the Quick Ball or, of course, the Crushing Hammer. Quick Ball seems fine. I think what we're going to do is we're going to just get rid of a Fire Energy and grab ourselves out another Jirachi here. It would be excellent if we could find ourselves a Welder, although if we do miss that, if we do find the Welder, we still need to find a Switch now. So, well, there's the Welder, so we've got ourselves going. We can Welder onto one of these Aerodactyl, probably the one without any damage. Obviously, it's going to be frustrating regardless, because Obstagoon can easily put damage counters down, but we now need to find another Switch, and it doesn't actually happen here, so that's really frustrating. So I'm going to attach the Fighting Energy to the active. Is actually going with the Fire Energy onto the Aerodactyl with 10 damage, and that's an interesting choice, because we could potentially have used the Welder in our hand to draw some more cards, but that's okay, we've got the fighting energy now, and Sam choosing to grab just the one Aerodactyl there. That's interesting as well, because you really could grab both, but ultimately we probably want to leave some space for things like that Diancie to try and get the extra damage. At the moment, since Yveltal has the resistance to fighting, we're actually not going to be able to knock it out very easily, so we could potentially require that Diancie at some point here. There's the rare candy, so they do have pretty much everything that they need to deal with our Aerodactyl here, and they are placing down 40 damage counters this turn. We could be seeing a gust to knock out the Aerodactyl with our 2 fire energies on it. That would be very frustrating, but no, they're actually just moving ahead to 50 damage on this Aerodactyl, so maybe they don't have the gust. They do have 2 energy and a Mani though, so maybe regretting not attaching that fighting energy, because we are in a position where we still definitely need it. We need the fighting energy to be able to attack, so hopefully we are able to come up with something here. But at the moment, our opponent's not really doing too much either. They're attacking with Yveltal, and we've actually got a fire energy in the bin, so that training court is going to be super good for us. So we can training court, get that fire energy back, and we can actually welder these 2 fire energies onto the Aerodactyl with no damage counters on it. And that's actually the hardest part for us, is to chain these fire energies, but we still cannot find a fighting one. So we're going to need to hope that we find Energy Spinner here, which we definitely could do. At the moment, doesn't look like we've grabbed it. We're going to grab maybe Crushing Hammer. Could be worth getting the welder as well, just to know that we've got a draw card, but definitely an acceptable option. We can get rid of one of the energies here. And then it's going to be a matter of moving into another Jirachi here. I think the scoop up net is the way to go. We can remove the 20 damage from the Jirachi, go into a fresh one. We do need to find that Energy Spinner though, and we don't find it. So we are in a lot of trouble now, because we just don't have any fighting energy. Unbelievably, we've actually been able to get 6 fire energies into the field, but we haven't been able to get a single fighting one. So very disappointing. We do have the Diancie for next turn though. We could potentially play down another Jirachi as well. I think it's just a pass here. Let our opponent hit into this Jirachi again. All we need is 1 fighting energy, and we are absolutely raring to go here. But our opponent is still placing damage counters. There's another Obstagoon in play, and again, if they find Gust, they'll be able to simply GX attack one of our Aerodactyls here, which would be very, very annoying. There is the boss, so they are actually going to be able to do that if they want. There's the Aerodactyl with 40 HP already, 40 damage already on it, and Doom Count GX will get 2 prizes for our opponent. And this is a really, really tough spot to be in. We need to find some energy. This is going to be a tough one. It looks like Sam going for the training court here. I'm not entirely sure whether that's the best play right now. We can always grab it later. What we do need to find is we need to find ourselves a copy of Energy Spinner, or just the fighting energy. That would be great also. So might be just worth using Professor's research here. Maybe just jumping in with the Jirachi would be a good idea. Looks like Sam is placing the Diancie down and he's going for the research. We still haven't managed to find it, but we have got 2 more Crushing Hammers, so we can remove the Yveltal's energy here. Oh my god, we've actually managed to get both of them. That's unbelievable. And now a Stellar Wish. Do we find it? Do we find it? We don't find it. Unbelievable. Oh, so we're going to go with the scoop up net here. We can scoop up the Jirachi in the active, grab ourselves another one. Give me Energy Spinner, please. No Energy Spinner. Okay. So you can see exactly why I really struggled to get a game with this one. It is a little bit awkward, especially looking for those energies. There's just so few ways for us to find them, and I think Sam is going to regret having not attached that fighting energy early. The spinner's in deck, you can see it, it's there, just unable to get it. So maybe Sam is going to go one more time looking for this energy, finding a Jirachi with the quick ball. I think it would be a little bit ridiculous to suggest that we go again. Our opponent's not really going to be able to do too much. They have no energy in play, so we could just switch into this Aerodactyl and pass. There's no way that they're going to be able to do anything from that. Or we could just play down another Jirachi and switch into that. Pokémon Research here. We could potentially play down the Ditto, ready to evolve it next turn, because there's no chance of that Ditto getting knocked out, but it looks like it's just going to be a pass from Sam, and that is so sad. What a sad way to go. This game is not really showing off the attacks of Aerodactyl. We're just sitting back hoping that our opponent can't deal with us removing those energy. All we've really done is just flip heads on Pokemon Catcher, but that's okay. They're grabbing out Sableye here. This is very, very frightening. Sableye's actually not weak to fighting. It's weak to grass, so that is not a good sign for us. They are attaching to it, and then they're going to use Professor's Research. So they could potentially get into the active here, use Load Search to find a card that they need, but they will need to find a switch. They won't be able to do it any other way, apart from Air Balloon, which of course they do have access to. So I'm going to probably think before I speak next time. They're actually grabbing out Zacian as well. Now, there's our 6 prizes. We've got 6 prizes on the field, which is very, very good for us. But the question becomes, they've just chosen not to retreat there. That's very interesting. Okay, cool. Okay, so there's another fire energy. It's not what we're looking for. I think we're just going to go with the Stellar Wish here. Hopefully we can find ourselves something. Professor's Research does seem pretty good. We can play that one down. We can switch into the non-damaged Aerodactyl. That would probably be the best way to go. Worst case scenario, that's free retreat, so that's fine. We will research, and hopefully now we can find a fighting energy. There's one. Okay, so we are ready and raring. We can replace the stadium with our martial arts dojo and be ready to start attacking. Aerodactyl's Boulder Crush here will do 120 minus 20 plus 20, so 120 damage. Oh, hello, Bucket. My cat has jumped into shot here. I don't know if you can see her. She's just there. Hello, Bucket. Come up here. Oh my goodness, look at that. Anyway, let's ignore that, and hopefully we can find ourselves a way to take a knockout on this Yveltal before our Sableye kills this Aerodactyl. We're going to be in a bit of trouble if that is the case. They are going to be able to just retreat straight out into the Zacian here. That's a very interesting choice. Maybe they're not able to get exactly what they need here to take the knockout, which is fair enough. It's going to be a bit tough for them. Sableye does need 3 energy for it to be able to knock out this Aerodactyl, remember. 3 energy required because the Aerodactyl gives that extra damage off. No, not that damage. Off that extra energy, needs that extra energy. So let's see what we can manage here. Obviously, we've got 170 on the Sableye and 160 on the Yveltal. I forgot to mention the martial arts dojo damage there. Now, I don't think there's going to be any way that we could realistically get ourselves into a boss here unless we switch. If we were to switch into the Jirachi or just retreat into the Jirachi, then we could potentially do it. I think this is probably a safer way to go. 180 damage onto this Zacian doesn't seem like a bad idea. They are going to need to put 3 damage onto this Aerodactyl with an Obstagoon in order to take a knockout. And even if they do that, then we are going to be able to at least take a knockout on the Sableye next turn with our Aerodactyl, because we're doing 180 based on the Boulder Crush, 120, then there's a Diancie, and then the Martial Arts Dojo. So we can take the knockout. It's going to be a little bit tough, but we can definitely do it. If they do replace the stadium, though, we are in a bit of strife. We've half hit a ton of things here, but we've just not been able to deal with our opponent. They've not evolved into the Obstagoon, but they are using Boss's Orders here, so they could be going to take the knockout with the Sableye this turn, and this is actually a massive deal for us. It means that we now don't need to find the fighting energy anymore, so we can take the knockout on this Sableye, and then hopefully from there our opponent's just not going to be able to deal with us doing what we want to do. Now, do we put the Jirachi in the active? We've got 8 cards left, probably not required 100%. There is a Fiery Flint. We could potentially discard that with Quick Ball to try and search ourselves out. We've got 1 boss in the discard. It might just be a case of going for broke with this Aerodactyl. Maybe we just go for the Boulder Crush and take the knockout. We know that we're not going to be able to take knockouts. Our opponent's not going to be able to take knockouts on anything else. There's a fighting energy. It's probably why we couldn't find it early. We're not going to be able to use boss this turn unless they give us the V. Maybe they could give us that Zacian. That would be great. I don't think it's going to happen. They'll probably retreat into something else. They're actually powering up another Sableye here. So I am very, very frightened. And they're scooping up one of the Obstagoons. So that's going to put the extra 30 damage onto this Aerodactyl plus the 10 from the other Zigzagoon. So we are now well and truly within range. We have to do... Oh, pardon me. We have to deal with that. That is, with that... What do you call it? What is the name of that card? It's the card that our channel's named after. We have to deal with that Sableye right now. And frankly, I don't know how we're going to do it. We've just removed the Dojo has been removed, so we're not doing 180 damage anymore. We're only doing 140. And, I mean, we've got the access to the replacement stadium to get rid of the black market, but we are in a lot of trouble here, especially if our opponent is able to get a knockout. We could be in a big bit of strife. So we'll see what we've got up our sleeves. We just have to hope that Gust is in deck still, I'd think. There's only so much that we could realistically do, unless, of course, they give us a knockout, and they've chosen to do so. They could have retreated into a Zigzagoon there, but now we've got ourselves a chance. We can take a knockout on the Zacian and potentially find a boss's orders next turn to try and win the game. Let's thin the deck and see if we can find the boss. It is not in deck, so that means we've got a prize to deal with. We can potentially get the boss off of the prizes this turn. We could even, like, switch into the Jirachi, like, retreat into the Jirachi, find the Team Yell Grunt, and then remove that energy from the Sableye, give ourselves that little bit of extra time. But let's see, do we get the boss? We get the bosses off of the prize. Okay, so we should be in a position now where even if our opponent does something crazy, we should be able to win the game. It's just a matter of whether or not we can find access to our Gust before they power that Sableye on the bench up. They've got 2 energy on it, but because of Aerodactyl's ability, they need 3 to take the knockout, and they are just slowly chipping away at this Aerodactyl. They're going to need to retreat this Yveltal this turn. If they don't do it soon, then they're going to be in trouble. They're also running out of cards as well, so even if we do have to take if we can't take a knockout on the Yveltal, maybe they remove multiple energy just randomly, then we could potentially just Gust up a Obstagoon and hope for the best. They've only got 4 cards left, so we'll see what happens, but I think we're in a pretty good spot here, actually. Even though we did struggle to find that fighting energy, they've actually gone for the Marnie here. That's a big loss for us, because now we need to find... Oh, we've found the Research Lab, okay. We've got Research Lab and the Team Yell Grunt and the Research. So we can play Team Yell Grunt down here and remove that energy from the Sableye. That will give us a little bit of wriggle room. It'll give us an extra turn at the very least, and we can take a knockout on this Zigzagoon. And the good thing with that is, it means that firstly, our opponent's not going to be able to get extra damage counters onto it. They've actually just conceded. There you go. So they've given us the win. We still had to go looking for it, but, you know, it's okay. We'll take those. Aerodactyl not necessarily showing a consistent performance there, but definitely showing off how it works in the long run. Obstagoon probably is going to struggle against this list because of the fact that they need that extra energy to attack. We saw that struggle there with the Yveltal and the Sableye, but ultimately we got across the line, even if our opponent did give us the win in the end. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and hopefully you are willing to stick around. You know, if you want to see more, then you can always subscribe if you haven't already. Click the button that's just here. Over on this side, we've got some videos that YouTube thinks you'll like, as well as a playlist down here in the bottom right-hand corner for more Rebel Clash deck profiles and gameplay. Thank you, everyone, for coming along, as always, and we will see you all next time for more from the Sableyes. Bye.